My name is Tashira, and I'm here with On a Divine Note. Viewer discretion is advised. In this episode, we will be talking about some touchy subjects, including sexual abuse, so trigger warning. At On a Divine Note, we explore a wide range of topics that nourish the soul and body.
From healing and wellness to relationships and spirituality, we dive into the mind, self-care, trauma, love, and so much more.
Join us as we create a space for growth, connection, and holistic well-being. Welcome to On a Divine Note.
Hello, my name is Tashira.
And I am Bia.
And I'm Nya.
And welcome to On a Divine Note.
Welcome.
Welcome back, guys.
Today we have a very special episode. Today we're going to actually do our first Storytime episode featuring our own Nya Azaria.
Yes.
So excited.
Yes.
And really, we're just going to dive into who Nya is, how you became the person that you are today. And we're not going to waste no time. Let's just go right into
Dive
it.
in.
Let's dive in.
Let's dive in.
So before I get started, I do just want to just say that, this is my story. This is my experience. And, sometimes it can be challenging to tell your story when other characters play a part, when you're not the only character.
Yeah.
And especially when it's people that you love. So I just want to just remind everybody that this is my story. This is my experience. I'm not trying to bad talk anybody or anything of that sort. So
I love that. I love how you started that off.
Well, let's just go ahead and hop right in. So, oh, and if I'm looking at my phone, it is because I kind of wrote this out just to kind of help me stay on track. So I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, in a single parent household. So I have an older brother, I have a younger sister, and then it's me. So I'm the middle child. So I guess you can say like I kind of had the middle child syndrome, if you will. Just like always needing more, like more love, more affection, more care, just like whatever it was. Just like I always felt like I needed more. And my mother tried her best, but at the end of the day, she was raising 3 kids, you know? She was raising 3 kids, trying to provide for us, trying to make sure that we had a roof over our head, we had food in our stomachs, while simultaneously trying to make sure that she was giving each kid exactly what they needed as individuals.
Wow.
So I don't think that that's an easy job. I'm not a mom, but I know a lot of moms can probably imagine that that's not an easy job. And from a young age, I can remember just knowing that my mother wasn't happy and that she just wasn't okay. And of course, as a kid, you don't know why, but you just know, like you can just feel it. I've always been able to feel my mom. We've always been very in tune, like even still to this day.
Yeah.
If we're thinking about each other, we text each other at the same time.
Yeah.
If she's not okay,
Wow.
I text her and vice versa. And so I would say that my mother had to grow up very fast. She did not come from the best background herself as a kid. Both of her parents, my grandparents, were drug addicts for pretty much all of her life. Her father was abusive, and there were just all sorts of things happening, just in the household. And then she had my brother when she was 17. So
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Wow.
So essentially, she was a baby raising a baby.
Trying to raise a baby.
You know? And so I think because of everything she went through, she never really ever had a chance to sort through her trauma, process the things that she had been through,
Yeah.
And so I would say that her unresolved trauma started to affect me when she started beating me when I would get in trouble. And it wasn't that I didn't need the discipline, right? Because I was doing like little kid stuff,
Yeah.
talking in school and like things like that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I didn't need the discipline. I just think that for me, I was the type of kid where I would have benefited more from a conversation rather than having hands put on me. And it would just get really extreme. It would get extreme. It would just go too far a lot of the time. And that went on for a while. And I can just remember, like, not to be graphic, but
Yeah.
just her, punching me for what felt like 5 to 10 minutes at a time, like multiple days a week.
Wow.
And so of course, as a child, like, that is traumatic.
Yeah.
It's very traumatic. And yeah. So then I remember it was this one day that she hit me, and it got really bad, like significant enough for her to promise me that she would never hit me again. And she didn't.
Wow.
And I'm grateful for that. So she never hit me again, but just during that time when it was happening, it went on for a long time. And I can just remember just like every time it would happen, just crying myself to sleep and waking up. Yeah, it's okay. I'm good now. But
I know. It's like,
yeah.
yes.
But like waking up and like my body being sore and, just being like so sad. And I think I was crying myself to sleep, not even because it hurt. It was just like, it started to happen so often that I think I was getting confused as to whether or not like what I did was actually bad enough to get this sort of treatment, or then it started turning into like, or does my mom not like me? Like, does she not love me?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, and I do think that a lot of the time she was blacking out, like she wasn't there, and she was just misplacing her anger. And we all know, like, blacking out when you're using these is one of the worst things you can do, especially when you have that like built up anger.
Yes.
And me being like this little thing, this little girl, it was just absolutely, just too much for me.
Yeah.
But so she did stop hitting me, but then, although she wasn't hitting me anymore, it wasn't that her anger had went away. It wasn't that, she had healed all of a sudden. So she wasn't hitting me, but now it was like the emotional aspect of things. She was very short-tempered. She was snappy. Like everything I did was a problem. Everything I said was a problem. I chewed too loud was a problem. Like she just had this like short fuse where you just kind of had to like walk on eggshells with her. And that, got exhausting, honestly. And it wasn't until I was 17, and we laugh about it now, but this one day we were in her room, and we were building like a dresser or something in her room. And I don't remember what the conversation was, but she got upset at me and just like said something mean. And at this point, for whatever reason, this day, it was just like the cherry on top of the cake for me. And I was just like, I am just like tired of this. And so I walked out the room. We did our same song and dance that we have been doing for years, where she gets mad at me, she snaps, I run and I cry and I bottle all my emotions, and she bottles hers too. This particular day, I ran out of the room, and before I could even make it to my room and do my normal thing, I turned around and I ended up back in her room. And I looked at her just crying and I shouted, like, can we just talk? Can we just talk? Like, you're always like, we're always doing this. Let's just talk. And, that's bold to do, like to your mother.
After everything.
After everything I've been
That
through,
you've
like
been
being
through.
scared of her for so long and all these things,
You stood up in that
I
moment.
stood up.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
she was not mad at me. I did not get in
Wow.
trouble. She respected it.
Wow.
She supported it. And I would say our relationship kind of changed from there.
Wow.
And I remember that day, after I said that, we sat on her bed. She didn't even know what to say.
Oh,
Like she
wow.
was just like, but we sat on her bed and we had like the best conversation. And it was probably the first time where I actually was able to experience her like as a human and not as my mother.
Yes.
And it was just the best feeling. And that's kind of how our relationship started to go on like the right path. Yeah. So, but I'm gonna go back to around the age when I was 12. So she stopped hitting me, but around that same time is when two things happened. The first being that I found out that my father was not my biological father. So what happened was that my mom got pregnant with me, and throughout the whole pregnancy, he was there and he was present. He was excited apparently and everything. And then my mom went into labor. She called him. He just never answered. She gave birth to me. He just never answered. And at this point, like, he just wasn't there. We left the hospital. She was very confused, didn't really know what was going on. So she said that as soon as she left the hospital with me, she went to his house. She knocked on his door. Nobody answered. And she left my baby picture there. And then it wasn't till I was like 2 or 3 years old. I guess the only one time I guess you can say I saw him, but I don't even remember this.
Yeah.
But it was her, my aunt, and I at Arundel Mills Mall, and apparently I guess he was there, and my aunt like grabbed me and tried to chase him down. He just acted like
He didn't
he
even
didn't know
know.
us.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Oh,
God.
Yeah,
that's
just
so
acted like he didn't know us.
sad.
And so when I found out that, I wasn't upset because I have my dad. So
Yes.
my dad is my father's biological dad. From the moment that I was born
Your
to
father?
today,
You mean your brother,
Father?
right?
my
Your
brother.
brother. You said
Yeah.
your father.
Oh,
So I
oh,
was just, I just want to make sure.
Not
Sorry.
your grandpa.
not my grandpa. My brother's biological dad
Okay.
just kind of took me in from the day that I was born till today. Like
Wow.
that is my dad, and
That's
nobody can
amazing.
tell me different. And I didn't know any different, right?
Right.
Like I knew that I had a father, and we went to his house every Sunday, and he would
Aw.
take us to the gas station and get us snacks. Like that was my dad, you know. Blood
Wow.
could not make me and him any closer. Like that's my dog.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I didn't like really have that lack. So I wasn't upset when I was told this. I think I was more so just confused.
Yeah.
And then I think subconsciously it turned into like identity issues, because this is a whole other half of you. And then you get curious, like, what does he look like? What's his name? Do I have any siblings? And
Oh.
and then I think down the line that turned into like, oh, am I not good enough? Because I couldn't fathom as a kid how you could,
Yeah.
have a kid and just like do that. Like it just
Abandoned.
didn't
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
sense to me. So I'm like, is it me? Which doesn't make sense, right? But as a kid, you don't know. When you're left to your own devices, you make up your own, scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that really, like I said, didn't make me upset, just more so made me curious. And so then it was something that I was just like constantly I would think about like here and there, but it wasn't really that big of a deal.
Mm.
Um, and then also around that same time, I would say this was the most like pivotal moment. Would have been when I had a male family member who is about 2, 3 years older than me, molest me.
Mm.
And so it was just like a normal day. And he came over and he spent the night over my house, like, usual. And we were playing and everything, and then I guess it was time to go to bed, and my mom asked like, where's everybody gonna sleep?
Yeah.
And this particular family member, like we grew up like brother and sister, so we
Yeah.
were super super close. Like I
Right.
I loved him, still love him to this day. And so I like made him a little like cot on the floor like next to my bed with like blankets and pillows and stuff. And we laid down, went to sleep, like watched Disney Channel or a movie or something. And then I just remember it was like 5 in the morning. I'm facing the wall, and I just feel him behind me with his hands in my underwear, like
Mm.
touching and rubbing me down
I
there.
know you was.
Yeah. And so I felt it and it woke me up. So I opened my eyes, but I'm facing the wall so he can't see my face. But my eyes are open and I'm like experiencing this now
Oh my God.
awake.
Wow.
And I was probably sat there for like 60 seconds, kind of in shock and just like all these thoughts and emotions,
Yeah.
like what's happening right now? Like this is
Yeah.
weird. And then I finally came out of that shock state and I just pushed him off of me and I was like, get off of me. And he went back down and lay on the floor and acted like he was still sleeping, like nothing ever happened. And I ran to my mother's room and I woke her up and I told her, I was like, this person just touched me like down there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And she just popped up and I could see the anger just go throughout her body.
Mm.
Wow.
And she told me to lay in her bed. So I did. And she got up and I just heard her, yell his name and was like, come on, you're going home.
Mm-hmm.
And she took him home. And so I'm at the house by myself. I don't know if anybody else is there, but I'm just in the room and just like, of course, I can't sleep. I'm just
Yeah.
like
Right.
thinking
Yeah.
and like feeling all these emotions. I felt just like disgusting and violated, just like all these things. And I was just waiting on my mother to come back home so I could, go into more detail. We could talk about how I felt and like all these things, or to call me. And so she did end up calling me about 30 minutes later. And there wasn't much that she could say. All she really said was that she was sorry that I had experienced this. And it didn't really go that much further than that.
Mm.
And I think that if she knew like what to do, she would have done more,
Mhm.
but I don't think she had the tools. Like I don't think she even knew what to do.
Yeah.
So she, that was pretty much it. And then this was around a holiday. I want to say it was Thanksgiving. So like a few days later, we would have been going to Thanksgiving at his mom's house because that's the person's house that we like
Yeah.
do all the family things at. And I remember she called me either the same day or the day after, and she was just crying and she apologized on his behalf. He called me, I want to say like the day after as well, and apologized. And then at some point, I got asked, like, are you still going to go to Thanksgiving dinner? And at first, I was like, no, like, that's
Yeah.
so
Wow.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And
Too
then,
fast. Too
right,
soon.
too soon.
Yeah.
But I don't remember why I ended up going, but I did end up going.
Mm.
And so we had Thanksgiving, and it was as normal of a Thanksgiving as it could be.
Wow.
And that was it. Like
Mm.
nobody ever talked about it. All the adults around me buried it. It seemed to me. So naturally, I did the
Wow.
same. Like
Wow.
everybody else was acting like it didn't happen. So I was like,
Oh my
okay,
gosh.
I what am I supposed to do with it?
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
buried it too, and I buried that for a long time, for years on years on years, and um that unresolved trauma though started spilling out into like all the areas of my life. And this is when I developed really bad anxiety. I
Mm.
would have these like just intense anxiety attacks where everything would get like really, really, really loud and I would like hear voices and I would just cry like what is happening? I know
Wow.
now that I was having panic attacks,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I didn't know that then. And my mom was trying to look up like, do you have some sort of condition, and just like looking up all this stuff. She didn't know what to do. And every
Wow.
time it would happen, I would cry, I would go to her, and then most of the time I would just like sleep in her room. Even when she had a partner, like I would sleep on the floor,
Yeah.
Um so yeah, it was that. And then I also started to become like very promiscuous,
Mhm.
obviously.
Yeah.
Started to like really, really get into boys, really get into the idea of sex. I started stealing a lot. I
Wow.
Mm.
started lying a lot. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, it's
No, it's
okay.
okay.
And
Yeah.
there is an effect,
It's
when something is done to you,
mhm.
it's no such thing as just bearing it and moving on.
Right.
Like there's always going to be an effect after everything that we do
It
or
does.
experience. So,
Yeah.
take your time right now. You don't have to apologize. This is your story and it's a powerful story and you
Yeah.
are so brave for
Mhm.
telling your story.
Yes.
Thank
And you
you.
don't know who you're helping out there. So
Mhm.
many people are going through this now,
Mhm.
today.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take your time.
yes, whenever you're ready, we are here.
Let it out. That's
Let
healing.
it out.
Yeah,
That's
That's
this
yep.
was definitely
fine.
healing for me too. Telling your story
Yes.
publicly is not
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the weak.
Yeah. 100%.
um so yeah, I started stealing a lot and lying a lot. Like I said, just acting out overall. And ultimately, I was just crying out for help. Like
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
didn't know what was wrong with me. And then like because I was doing all of these terrible things because of what I had went through, then I started just like not liking myself because I was
Mm.
doing these bad things. Like I was stealing, I was lying, I was hurting people. Hurt people
Yeah.
hurt people.
Hurt people, hurt
So
Mhm.
people.
and I didn't like that like for myself. And I was, just started to tell myself that I was that terrible person for years.
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
that was the narrative that played over and over in my head, that I was just this terrible person, which, in hindsight I just needed to heal,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then once I got to my late years of high school is when then I of course had more access to things. So that's when, I started drinking and smoking weed, started having sex, and just started doing those things excessively to kind of numb
Mhm.
out all the things
Mm.
that
Mhm.
I was feeling, escape
Yeah.
my reality. Um, and also around that time, I never wanted to be home and I would isolate myself when I was home. So
Mhm.
I lived like most of my childhood in my room with my
Mm.
door
Oh,
closed because,
wow.
I just didn't like, I just hated the world. I
Yeah.
hated
Oh.
everybody. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't want to be around people. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because of that. Like my relationship suffered, like my
Mhm.
relationships with my brother suffered. I had a younger sister
Mhm.
who
Yeah.
I was not present for,
Mm.
like, and so, that sucked. Um, And yeah, like I literally would only come out of my room to use the bathroom and to grab my plate of dinner. And we didn't even eat together as a family. So I would grab my food and go sit right back in my bed. And so it's funny because anybody that really knows me knows that I love eating in my bed
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a bed eater. And that's literally like where that habit,
Came
stemmed
from.
from. Yeah.
Wow.
And then straight out of high school, I tried going to college, and that didn't work out. So then that made me feel like even more of a failure, and then led me down the path of really deep depression, which led to me smoking and drinking every single day. Like,
Wow.
there was not a day that went by that I was not drunk and high, not a single day,
Suppressing pain.
just suppressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was in a relationship during that time, and we broke up. And him and I breaking up was the turning point because now, also, I'm living on my own at this time. I moved out when I was 18. So not having anybody there and it just being me, and then I had decided, I was like, okay, we broke up. Things are getting like just really out of hand. Let me start to try to figure some things out. Let me start to
Right.
try to get to know myself and, get better. And so I decided that I was going to stop drinking and I was going to stop smoking. And I don't have like an addictive personality, so I can wake up and say I'm not going to do something and then I won't ever do it again.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
I barely drink and I stopped smoking completely. And so it was just me in this apartment, this 2-bedroom apartment every day. Like, and Cher, this is the time, this was the colonies where you would come over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would like help me work through the stuff.
Wow.
And that was when I was like, okay, let's try to, figure this out. And then I just had a moment where I just realized, just like being by myself, not having anything to suppress what's happening, like really having to face everything head on, I realized, like, oh my gosh, burying my trauma has caused so much damage.
Oh my God.
Like, I didn't realize how much damage that had caused
Mm-hmm.
till it was just me and my thoughts and my
Right.
body and my reality and my truth
Yes.
was like, oh my gosh, like
Wow.
this has caused a lot of damage for me.
Yeah.
Um, and so I would like make like little video journals every day. Like, and I would just I would just cry and I would just talk to the camera about how I felt. And most of the time it made no sense.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't articulate my
Yeah.
my thoughts. It was just so much. And I was doing that and then I started journaling. I started like seeking a relationship with God. And then that's when I came to you and I came back to peaceful healing because I was like, I can't do this alone.
Yeah.
I knew that you were the perfect person.
Oh,
So
wow.
I reached out to you and then, yeah, through peaceful healing and, all the projects, all the meditations, all of the shedding, that's how you get the girl that's in here today.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah. And I also want to say that the beautiful thing is that my mom and I have a very good relationship today. We are like best friends and she's really good. Like I can come to her and we can have all of the hard conversations and I can say all of the things that I just said here.
Yes.
It's nothing here that she doesn't know or that I haven't said to her,
Exactly.
And so there's just the beauty in that. And so I just
love
definitely want to mention that. But yeah.
Mic
I
drop.
have so
my
many
story.
questions.
Mic drop. Love that.
God, I have so many questions.
Me too.
The first question I do want to ask is, you said you had an older brother. Were you ever able to talk to him? And
Yeah, that's a good question.
because he's young, of course, at the same time,
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and his story isn't my story to tell, but he has a story too,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so I think just us both being in that house where we weren't taught to like talk about our emotions or talk about things, it just wasn't a comfortable like space. Not that he didn't make it feel safe, the household in general just didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
So, I didn't really go to him at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just didn't talk about like emotions and stuff. And we're still working through that today.
Yeah.
We need to do more of that. But
Yes.
yeah, that's just kind of how we grew up. We grew up not talking about things, And I know he knew some of the things that was happening, but I don't know if he
Knew how to.
knew
Yeah.
how to like help
Even
Yeah.
approach it
or
too, you know?
approach it, and I'm sure some of those things hurt him too,
I'm
like
sure.
hearing, me being molested
Yeah.
by, a family member that he's also close to. Like I'm
Wow.
sure that stuff started to build up into him because he's
Within
a
him.
within him,
Mhm.
Right.
because he's a protector and he is
Yes.
a
Yes, he
protector. He has my
is.
sister's keeper tattoo right here.
Yes.
Like
Oh,
Yes.
he is,
that is amazing.
yeah, that he's
Wow.
a protector. So I think he just didn't know really how to
Yeah.
approach it, and then I didn't either.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, no,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, I mean, he was young too, and
Yeah.
I just was asking.
Yeah, no, it's a
'Cause
great question.
sometimes we have people that we can go to,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
wow.
Wow. Have
Yeah.
you did you ever like, because I wonder how that correlated to your life when you were older.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if somebody were to abuse you, and I don't know if this ever happened in your life, but if somebody were to ever abuse you mentally or like physically or like speak words, like speak down onto you,
Right.
if that's ever happened, like, were you at a place where you like thought that that was normal, or did you ever
Absolutely.
like?
Because you
Absolutely.
dealt with it for so long.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's start with like the sex part of it.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
sex part of it was like once I started having sex, it was so just messed up in my mind where like I thought that if a man wanted to have sex with me and he wanted my body, that meant that like he loved me.
Mm.
Like there was nobody else. It was just me. Like what? He wants to like have sex with me. He wants like my body. Like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I led with that for so long, and I didn't know how
Wow.
to actually give love
Yeah.
because I identified love with sex.
Mhm.
Sex and love for me were this one and
The
the same.
same.
There,
Wow.
it wasn't separate. So
That's
like it,
deep.
yeah.
Wow.
So if there wasn't sex,
Wow.
then that meant that he didn't love me. If he didn't want to have sex with me, like he's not trying to have sex with me,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
no, girl,
That's
like,
Right. It's the
that's
total
yeah.
good. Maybe he's
opposite.
just a gentleman. You
Yeah.
know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
But yeah, like I think just being touched like so young at
Yeah.
that age, and the first time being by somebody, a male that I trusted, that's just kind of what it
Felt
made it.
normal.
Yeah.
If that's what felt normal to me, it was like, okay, that
Wow.
must mean that this is what I'm supposed to do. Like this is the
Mm.
way that things are supposed to go.
Yeah.
And then as
Wow.
far as people with like their words and saying mean things to me, I don't think it ever felt normal.
Mm.
It always hurt, but I was like used to it, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Like I was
Mhm.
numb to it.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
No,
That
it makes
makes
a
a lot
lot
of
of
sense.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel normal. It was
Right.
like this still hurts my feelings, but like, okay, this is
Whatever.
just like
Right.
what it is,
Yeah.
Wow.
And what age were you again when you were first touched?
12.
12.
That's
Wow.
very young.
It's very young.
Mm-hmm. I was 12.
So,
So
oh,
no,
sorry.
go ahead.
So then after that, how early did you lose your virginity?
I
Right. That's a good
actually
question,
I didn't
right?
lose my virginity till I was 16. I mean, some may think
Oh,
So
that's
you
young,
waited. You
but
waited.
yeah.
I did
Okay.
wait.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Wait.
So you
I
you
did
took a
wait.
little bit of time to process before you
Yeah.
dove into that. Wow.
Yeah.
Because you could easily started doing it at the age of 12 and
Yeah.
13. So
But I think that if I had the opportunity, I
you
probably
probably
would
would
have.
have.
But I just never had the opportunity. Like I didn't
Oh.
go to like my first like guy's house till I was like around like 15, 16.
Okay.
And then if I ever was presented with the opportunity at an early age, I was scared. I was scared
Mm-hmm.
for a while, like
Mm.
of sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a lot,
I
like
was too.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
I
was.
think
I
that's a
was
normal
scared of it. Like,
feeling. It should be.
yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, yeah. I was scared
Mm.
of it, and so I had to kind of like after a while process that like okay, this isn't always a scary thing. Like
Mm.
sometimes this could be like a nice intimate
Yes.
like lovely thing, but I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
associated it with like ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, so you was okay. I see what you're
You see what I'm
saying.
saying? Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were saying you were scared because it was your first time. You
Oh
don't know what to
no.
expect,
No,
but
no,
no,
no.
it
It
was
was
because
more
of that.
so
Oh, wow.
because of
So
that
that's some
situation. Yeah. And even when I got
wow.
older, there would be times where like I did have a boyfriend, and if it wasn't sex and he would just like touch me like this, I would just like
Just yeah.
Mm,
or like get too close, I would just like get just like
wow.
so uncomfortable, like
Yeah.
get away, get away.
Yeah. And what
Wow.
would you say that you would have needed in that moment from your mom and your family?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question.
I know you got to go back there,
I
right?
know.
Like in that place. Like what
I
did you?
know.
I feel like I
Yeah.
know what you probably would have needed, but
What
what do
would
you feel like
Naya
you would
have
have needed?
needed? I think she would have needed to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that was just like a sit down conversation, like, hey, let's really talk through, what happened,
Yeah.
and let's talk step by step how that made you feel,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then even after that, like I think an initial conversation, and then maybe like some check-ins along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe after
Yeah.
a few months, do you still, think about that
Yes.
situation?
Yeah.
Does that still affect you today?
Yeah.
Or, once I started acting out and things, like, hey, like, where are these things coming from? Do you think
Yeah.
it could be coming from this? Do you think it's this? Like, do you need to be
Yes.
in therapy? Or,
Yeah.
just kind of just being asked really how I
Right.
feel. I never got asked how I felt about anything as a kid.
Wow.
Nothing.
That's so deep.
Yeah.
Now, with you never being asked those things and with you feeling so alone, I'm sure the thought came of suicide. But did you ever try it?
I never tried it, but I thought about it a lot, especially when I was
Wow.
in that like deep space of drinking and smoking every day. And then initially in the beginning, when that boyfriend I was talking about when we broke up and I was alone, I really thought about it a lot because I was just like,
Wow.
that was probably the hardest time of my life because
Yeah.
not only am I now having to process all of the things that I have gone through in my
Mm.
childhood, but I'm also mourning the relationship with the love of my life,
Yes.
like my first love, and
Yes.
we're together now, guys.
Right. But
but
then it was
but then it was
tough.
like very, very tough. I was just like mourning all of these things and then just like trying to understand myself. And I would just be
Wow.
like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
here. And I had those thoughts for a while of just like not wanting to actually do the action, but of just like not wanting to be
Right.
here. Like, I'd much rather not be here. Like,
Yeah.
like, because
Yes.
all of this is not worth it, is what it felt like at the
Yes.
time.
And it was
Wow.
hard for one person.
Did you ever try to talk to anybody about
Yeah, that's what I was
anything
going
that?
to ask.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, I was definitely
Look,
going to ask
they
that.
all
We
coming.
can
I know.
conversate. Right. No, that's fine.
Not really. Well, I'm lying. My Aunt Bera is somebody that from a young age I could always confide in. Not when it came to like the deep, deep stuff, because I didn't trust anybody with that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You could have made me feel like the safest person ever, and I still wouldn't have given it to you.
Yeah.
Just because I was so scared. But my Aunt Bera has always been somebody that I could go to and talk to about a lot of things that I couldn't talk to my mom about. And she was that aunt that like wasn't gonna go behind your back and tell your mom the
Right.
Yeah,
conversation you
yeah.
just had.
Yes.
Like she would I just always felt like she like saw me, she understood me, she never judged me. Like I could tell her anything.
That's
She would never
perfect.
judge me.
Yes.
So it's my Aunt Bera. And then you, Shira.
Yeah.
That's
Once
what I
we
was-
got
yeah.
close, like I said, the colonies, like was around this time where
Yeah.
things started to
Mm.
really, really go left. I confided in you
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
That's
You just
good.
have this way of like
That's
just
good.
making people feel just like seen and understood. Like,
Thank
I
you,
don't know.
baby.
I can't even explain it.
Yes.
But like
Thank you, baby.
you are my go-to, as you know.
Wow.
Yeah,
Of
you make me
course.
feel really, really safe.
Of course.
Wow.
Because when we were kids, there was a point where I felt a change in you, but you wouldn't really say anything about it. When I would come over, your attitude started switching toward me from like love to like almost like not really envy, but it felt like envy. It felt like jealousy, and you were young. So
It
I'm like,
wasn't neither,
why?
right?
Where did she? That's not what I'm used to. Like, what's going
Where did the
on?
purity go?
So I would try to talk to her, but now it's making all the sense in the world. Now that I'm just hearing everything,
Yeah.
from the rudder to the tudder, it makes sense because you were going through all this time. And I mean, when she was young, I mean like she 9, 10,
Yeah.
like, and we would come for the summer and we would go over
Yep.
there and all of us would hang out and play.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is she acting like that toward me? She loves me. That's just, like
Yeah.
why is she? And then I would
She was
try and I
hurting.
would be like, I think I would talk to Aunt Isha about it. I'm like, I don't know. Like, should I
weird.
say something? Like, is she okay? And we're like, no, whatever. She's just growing up. I'm like, okay, I guess. But I wish I would have leaned in a little bit more because I felt it intuitively that it was something off
But you
because
were young too.
Yeah.
You really were.
You were young too.
Yeah.
You would have been a not even a teenager yet. Or no,
How
you're
much?
like you're 29.
30.
Girl, I'm
She just
30
turned
now.
30.
Oh, you're 30.
I'm
Dirty
30
now.
now.
Yeah.
So you're
So
22.
I'm 23.
3.
You're 23.
We just said in
She always
here.
does this. Y'all, she wants me to be 3 years younger than I am.
Oh my
So
God.
she can be my aunt.
Yeah,
She's
so
my
she
cousin.
right.
You're 20. You're 20.
Wow.
You're 18.
What's that math? I'm not good.
So
6 years
About
older than you?
6, 7.
So you would have been like a teen, like 15,
Oh,
something like that.
yeah.
So, you know.
But girl, at 15, I was the
But
whole cat.
yeah.
Like,
The Shira was
But
a little old enough to
she,
be able to help
yeah,
you
yeah.
wow,
through it.
Naya.
But it's funny that you say that because I was a little envious of people that had things that I wanted as far
Mhm.
as like the household went. Like I would even go to my friend's house and I would just like want to stay there forever.
Yeah.
You know, and because you think that like your home is the worst and you go to other people's house, little do you know they got all the
They still going
crazy
through what they
crazy
going
things
through.
happening in the house, but it feels like, you know,
Yeah.
so different. It would just be like those little changes of they sit down and they eat together, or like
Yes.
they sit in the living room and they watch TV together, like those
Mhm.
little things. And my mom will tell you, I used to say to her all the time, like, why can't we just have a relationship like Shira and Bia? Why can't we just have a relationship like Isha and India? You know, she's like,
Yeah.
because we're not them.
Right.
But I saw what you guys had, and I
Mm.
wanted that
Oh my
Wow.
God.
with my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
You said a lot of key points what about your mom just like hurt people and just watching, you know, what she may have or did you ever even talk about her story or like did she ever open up to you
Mm-hmm.
now or
She
have
has.
she so I mean
Wow.
because she have been with her being my younger cousin I know she have been through some things
Mm-hmm.
but I know that you know she was hurting
Yeah.
and she was definitely a place and if sometimes those places could be very dark and so sometimes they don't know how to a lot of people today though they don't know how to they only know one
Process.
thing
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so I gotta say that you're brave for that
Oh my
but when you
God.
guys did talk about it did you get many did you get far
Yeah, I got some clarity when it came to when she felt like I was old enough for her to start telling me some of the pieces of things that happened. I still
okay
don't have the
good
full story and I don't know if I'll ever get it.
yeah
But I do have a lot of key pieces, like I said, of
okay
like knowing that her parents were drug addicts, knowing that her father was abusive,
right
knowing just like some of the hard things that she experienced, like abuse,
yeah
sexual abuse, and things like that. So it did kind of start to make sense the more
mm-hmm.
that she told me like, okay, so you were just angry, you know,
Yeah.
you were angry because of things that you've been through. And I can't imagine
Yeah.
like just knowing what she's been through. I cannot imagine like having 3 kids, trying to do all the things, trying to
Yeah.
take care of yourself, take care of your kids, make sure, like I said, as
Mhm.
individuals, they all are getting exactly what they want, exactly
Yeah.
what they need. Like, but being so angry and not ever having a chance to process the things that you've
Yes.
been through,
Yeah.
like I can't
And then to have a
imagine.
baby at 17
Yes.
thrown on top of it.
And
Yeah.
just having to
Having to be
go.
a
Like you
mom.
jump right
And
from
having the other
trauma
one.
to being a
Uh-huh.
parent. And she's been a parent for up until like
Yeah,
now.
now.
Until
You know?
You
now.
know?
Yeah.
Like
You don't
so
ever
it's like
ever
when do
stop. Yeah.
you get
When
a
do you get a
chance
chance
to
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 breathe?
breathe?
When
Literally,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know? And so like on the flip side of things, I look up to her because
Yeah.
I know her story. Just like the things that she's been through, where she is today, most people would not be.
Yeah.
Most people will be dead.
Yep.
Most people be on drugs.
Yep.
Like, and when, like I said, when she promised to stop hitting me, she'd never hit me again. When I
Mhm.
turned 17 and we had that good conversation, that was just the trajectory from there. Like, my mom
Right.
has always been self aware, I would
Yes.
say. Like, she never wanted to do these things. I truly think, like I said, she was blacking out and it was
Yeah.
something else taking over.
Yeah.
But when she would like whenever something like clicked and she got it.
She got
Yeah.
And
it.
she was never going back. When she
Yeah.
said she would never hit me again, it was like,
It was
I'm
That's
never
it.
doing that
right.
again. Okay, she needs to have like real emotional conversations. Okay, that's how I
This is what
handle
we're
her.
gonna
This
do
is what we're doing.
now.
You know what I mean?
Love that.
So once it clicked, sometimes it took a while, but when it did,
It did.
it did.
Yeah.
And we
Period.
never
Yeah.
went backwards.
Yes.
Wow.
I
So
love that. I love that.
yeah, and I
that.
truly appreciate that.
Yeah.
Truly, truly appreciate
And the
that.
fact that you guys are able to talk about these hard
Mhm.
things.
Mhm.
One question I do want to know is when would you would say that the moment was enough when you said, you know what, I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to smoke anymore. Like enough is enough. I need help. What was
Um,
the age?
I was, I would have been, let me see, I was at the colonies. I would have been 19.
Mm,
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the same year that I came back to Peaceful Healing. I was
Wow.
19, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have
Remember
been.
that.
In a
I
group
remember the colonies
setting?
now.
You
Now
remember?
that you said it
It's
now.
where we had the tacos.
Yes.
Me, you, and India. You
Yes.
brought Yanni over.
Yes.
We were
Yes.
sitting on your deck, and I was like, Shira,
Makes sense.
I am going through it.
Yes.
You remember? We were sitting
Yeah.
on the deck.
Yeah. You know I got short term sometimes.
I know.
Share would be.
That
But-
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep going.
But yeah, so it was then, just like I said, breaking up with my boyfriend, just being alone for the first time ever. It was just like, I'm not happy. Like sitting there by myself and realizing like you are broken. Like you are not happy. You don't know who you are. You're sitting in this house every day. You don't know what to do with yourself
Wow.
because you don't know what you like.
Yeah.
Like you don't know who you are.
You don't know your identity.
You don't know who you
Yeah.
are. So what are you supposed to do every day? And then this was around COVID. So there like
Wow.
I was stuck.
Had nowhere to go.
I had nowhere to go.
Girl.
I was stuck in the
Yes.
house. So yeah, I would say then just being alone and hearing all of my thoughts for the first time like super clear.
Yeah.
And hearing how just like negative and nasty those thoughts were
Yeah.
towards myself. Like I said, that narrative was like, you're a terrible person, like you're ugly, you're this, you're all these
All those things you're
things
telling yourself.
that I'm telling myself. And it was like, oh, this is like what's been playing in my head this whole time. Like we gotta
Fix that.
we gotta fix this.
So the other second question to that is, when did Nya start loving Nya? Because we know at 19 that you knew you need help.
Yeah, but I didn't
When
love
did you
myself.
start loving yourself?
I started loving myself when I first off finally got to know myself and
Okay.
like realized who I was. And then once I started accomplishing the things that like I said I wanted to do and the things I said I was going to do, that really helped my self-love for me
Yes.
personally.
Yeah.
Like accomplishing something that like just being a woman of your word and accomplishing all these great things and like doing the things you love, it really played a big part in my self-confidence.
I
Wow.
love
My
that.
self-love, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
another
Love
thing
that.
is like with you moving out at 18,
Yeah,
like because you
yeah.
were in a rush. Like,
Yeah.
you went through so much trauma at such
Yes.
an early age, and everybody like Naya's only 23.
Yeah, literally.
Naya
this
is
wasn't that
So you
long
can
ago.
only right.
23. So everybody's like, "Oh, I thought Naya was your age, Shira. I thought she was your age." Like,
Yeah.
no, she's 23. I hang out with her. We hang out together.
Right, right.
She's way younger than me, but she's so mature because she grew up extremely,
Yeah.
extremely early. So even with you realizing it at 19, right? You didn't have time to really process like everything that you were going through, and you were literally in it until you moved out at 18.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you moved out at 18, you had your boyfriend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you still didn't have that time. So I think I really, really commend you. And I do want to ask you too, where are you finding the strength to tell your story right now?
That's a good
There are people
question.
that want to, but
They can't.
they don't have that.
It's hard.
Like,
It's hard
Yeah.
to tell that story.
God first and foremost, but also just like I'm just in this season of leveling up. Y'all see me?
Yes,
like, I'm
girl.
on
You know, I know. I
mode.
see
I'm
it.
a beast right now.
yes.
Like
Yes. Say it again.
I'm a beast
You a
right
what?
now. A beast.
Yes.
Like literally this fuel that's just in me to just like level up in all the areas of my life. As scary as this was,
Yeah.
like I've been nervous about this, been feeling like anxiety come back and the devil trying to come in, all these things trying to come back this week, knowing that I had this
Yeah.
to do today.
See, there's always something, isn't it?
Yes.
Wait,
That's crazy.
we're going to talk about that's later. I want to know how they tried to intercept
Yes, me
because
too.
there's also spiritual warfare. And I
It's
think
definitely
that's a
spiritual
big part, like with you and who you are in your
Mm-hmm.
story and the things that you are doing with your being a musical director, having your acting classes, vlogging, having your story, inspiring, speaking, having a podcast, all at 23, by the way.
And
Doing all of that.
blogging. You forgot that. Blogging
But
all the time.
Vlogging, yeah, and that
It's a lot.
that must have been known at a
Yeah.
very young age. But even for you to tell your story today and all that happened in this week,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. So the strength is just like we just in a season of leveling up, and I got to do the hard things to get to the next level.
Yeah.
Like I got to pass this level to get to the
To get
next
to,
one.
yeah.
And for me, this just felt like a big thing to check off so that I
Mhm.
can truly, truly move on.
Yes.
Like I've moved on,
Yes.
but it's nothing like being in this seat doing
Yeah.
this.
Oh
You
my
know,
Talking about it.
gosh.
like telling your
Publicly.
story publicly. I
That's-
never even imagined in years that I would ever be in this position to
Mhm.
even where this would be a thought. So I knew that I needed this, and
Yeah.
I talked to God, and I just like this. I needed to do this.
Mhm.
It wasn't an option.
It wasn't an
Mhm.
option.
It wasn't an option.
Yes.
So when those obstacles tried to happen this week, you're just like,
Nope.
Nope.
wow.
Nope. Nope. I'm getting like
Yep.
anxiety, and y'all know, like I have really, like, pretty much healed myself from anxiety on my
I was
own.
going to say she don't have
Right.
head.
Used
Right.
to.
Because I've
Used
seen
to.
her grow.
Yeah. And just like feeling all those like old feelings come
Yes.
back, like anxiety attacks, like not being able to breathe, like just
Mhm.
being so scared about this. And then I
Yes.
had to ask myself last night, actually, I said, why are you doing it?
Mm.
Because I said, if I identify the why,
Yes.
this shouldn't be that scary. So I was like, why are you doing it? And the answer was so that other people can feel free to tell their own stories and so that you can heal too.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that was my why.
That's
And then once I had my why,
amazing.
that was last night. I woke up this morning like,
Rejuvenated and just ready.
yeah, like it's
Just
nothing to
ready.
be scared of. Yeah, it's nerve-wracking because I'm on a mic and I'm on camera, you know, saying vulnerable things, and those are normal human feelings. But
Yeah.
like being scared and like, no,
Yeah.
there's nothing to be scared of.
No.
Like this is
Wow.
Not
your
at all.
story, and you have a right to tell it.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's important to have your why with anything
Yes.
you do.
With anything.
Anything you do.
Wow.
That's gonna be your
Especially
driving
this,
force.
too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to have a why.
Yeah.
Like I realized I hadn't asked myself that. Like I
Mm.
knew I was doing it because we have a podcast and this is what we said the episode was going to be about. But I
Pretty
hadn't
much.
truly asked myself why I
Why
was
you're doing
doing
it.
it.
Yeah.
Because I could have easily told y'all, no, y'all, I don't want to do that. And
Yeah.
y'all would have been like, okay,
Yeah.
you know. But I agreed to do it. So.
Well, we probably wouldn't have just said okay, but
Well, no, y'all would have dug into like Nya, why? But I'm saying y'all wouldn't have forced me to do
No,
it.
no, 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 no.
You know, you wouldn't have.
But we'd have been like, Nya,
Y'all,
we'd have been trying to be
we
real.
would have had to have a sit down. It would have been a whole intervention for sure.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Right.
Feeling your story.
Like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
So y'all
My
know how it
therapist
is,
right here.
right?
That is hilarious.
I'm loving that.
And so with your father, because I know, you know, that was a thing when you were younger. When did you resolve that, or is that something that you still deal with? Like, what age were you like? Were you like,
Yeah.
this is my dad, the other guy,
Like,
you know,
forget about him.
Forget about him. You know, it is what it is. I'm gonna embrace this. Like, how did you maneuver that, and when did you maneuver that? What age?
Honestly, it's something I'm still slightly working through.
Yeah.
But I would say like as of last year is when I finally started to kind of let it go. And I can't remember how old I was, but
Yeah.
I know that I've ended up finding him on Facebook. My mom found him.
Wow.
And I finally got to see a picture of him because we were at my doctor's appointment one day, and I was like, I wonder if we can find my dad on Facebook. And she was like, oh yeah, I never thought about that. Me and my mom are
Right.
both little blondes. So she's like, it's both of us. She's like, yeah, I never thought about that. I'm like, yeah. So I went back to my appointment, and she looked him up on Facebook, and I came out, and she was like, oh, he's right here. And I saw a picture of him and everything, and that was the worst thing that could have happened.
What?
Because I got crazy.
Oh.
I got obsessed.
Wait a minute.
What?
I got obsessed like with his page. I would look at him all the
Oh.
time. I would message him like
Oh.
to the point he blocked me.
No. But did he know you was
First
a
of all,
child?
me and him gonna have to fight.
He blocked
No,
me.
this is on the divine note.
On a divine note. Respectfully, he blocked me. Disrespectfully, he blocked me.
Disrespectful.
That's disrespectful.
Boy.
Yeah, so when I found his page, it was just I started messaging him every single day. And at first I
That
can laugh
sound
about
like-
That's what he get.
That's the beauty when you can laugh about it. But when I first messaged him, it was like telling him like, you know, hey, I'm your daughter. Like this is the whole situation. And then those messages would turn into me messaging him like every time I thought about him, and I would message him exactly what I was thinking. So
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
days
yeah.
it was really nice, and other days it was really, really mean.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it would just they would just be
Go on.
coming in.
That's what he
wow.
get.
Yeah. And so eventually he blocked me. But I did find my sister.
Wow.
And so that was really nice. And so I have her on Facebook now.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I did not know you had a sister.
Yeah.
Mm.
What?
Mhm.
Wow.
I have a sister and a little niece. She has a daughter. She's so
So you
freaking
guys
cute.
stay in contact.
Yeah, we have each other on Facebook. We don't talk as much, but like we are very active on each other's
That's
Facebook pages.
good.
We did. She called me around that time that I texted her,
Mm.
and she did respond. And she ended up calling me, and we had a really good conversation. And for years, she would be like, I'm gonna tell him. He said he's gonna call you. He said he's gonna call you. He never called me.
Mm.
And it was to the
Oh.
point where every time my number would change, I would message it to him, like
Oh.
just in case.
Just in
You know,
case.
like
'Cause I'm
here's my
sure
new number in
I'm
case you ever
sure
want
he
to reach
thinks
out.
about it.
He has to.
I'm
I mean,
sure
why
he thinks
wouldn't
about
he?
you, and I joking like I'm gonna fight him and all
Mhm.
that. But I'm sure he thinks about you, and I'm sure like because imagine if you have a whole child and he has a daughter who he's
Mhm.
taking care of, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm sure he thinks about that,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that I don't know if he'll ever reach out, but I'm pretty sure he's probably contemplated a lot of times.
I'm sure.
But imagine how do you come back after like how do you face your
Yeah.
beautiful grown up child? You know, that you
After
abandoned
leaving.
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
they were
Like
nothing,
fully abandoned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
But she did tell me when I initially messaged her that this wasn't the first time that she had got this sort of message.
Oh, really? Somebody else?
Mm.
Another
She,
child?
He has multiple children. So
No way.
he out here
like
just
he's done this before. That was her initial
Oh.
response. She was like, "I'm so sorry it took so long to reply," because she took like 3 months to reply to me. And she was
No.
like, "I'm so sorry," but she was like, "Honestly, like this isn't the first time that this happened."
Oh.
he was a rolling stone.
Yeah, and then I guess they just be messaging her.
Oh,
He was a
because that's
rolling.
all they know. Wow,
Mhm.
I would like
I
for you
wonder
guys
how
to get
many
together,
siblings.
at least
Yeah.
get to know your niece.
Yes.
Right. How many
How many
siblings
siblings?
do
It's a
You
lot.
are
It's a
so
lot of them.
beautiful. You are such
Thank
the
you.
beautiful baby.
Thank
Oh
you.
my God, this is
my
dark and big,
God.
beautiful hair. Just
What?
beautiful.
So I
Thank
know
you.
when your mom put the picture on his step, I know
It
that
was
did
no way in the
something
world
to him.
his
Mhm.
heart couldn't melt.
Mhm.
It's no
Oh
way in the
my
world.
gosh. But I'm just happy that you did get through that.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I'm happy. I mean, before we move on, is there any like last things that you want to
Yeah.
say?
No, I just want to say thank you guys for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys for making this a safe space and allowing me to
Yes.
be vulnerable. You guys are always a safe space, so just I
No
appreciate
problem.
Love
you
you
guys.
so
We
much.
love you. We love you
This is our
now.
first time, really hearing your story. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
from the rudder to the tedder. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
loving it, loving it, loving it.
Yeah.
We're actually gonna do a questions and answers section.
Session.
What is it called, y'all?
Q and yeah.
Or Q&A.
Q&A session
Session.
for Nya's,
Talk.
right?
Session, you know.
English.
Yeah.
English.
Girl. Q&A session, y'all. We're gonna do a live
Q&A.
Q&A session.
Yes.
Not next week because next week is Thanksgiving, but the week after that, well, you'll be seeing this Thanksgiving week.
Mhm.
But that next week, we are going to do a Q&A session where we're going to do a live on Instagram. So if you don't follow us on Instagram at
Yeah.
on a divine note.
Yes.
Nya, all of us will be there. If you have any questions about Nya's story, please join us.
Yes.
And just you will be able to join our live and just ask her the questions face to face. You can put your questions in the chat.
Yep.
And then we're also doing the giveaway.
Yes.
So we're giving away $100, and I know that
Y'all better stop playing.
anybody could
Y'all can use it for Christmas.
Girl, $100.
Right.
Give it to me. So we're giving away $100. So you have to like, comment, share, subscribe, follow all of our pages. So we do have a TikTok page, a Facebook page, Instagram page as well. So just make sure you follow all of our pages, and then you can share us and mention us in your story.
Yes.
We have all of the instructions on all of our pages right now. So yeah, just make sure you do that to get a chance to have your name in our raffle.
Mhm.
So we're gonna do the Q&A session and the live, and then the second half will be the raffle.
Yes.
So come get this money, honey.
Yes,
money,
get this
honey.
money.
Come get this money, honey.
Yes.
All right, y'all. This
Yes,
was
I'm
good.
excited. It was really, really good.
This is good.
God.
Last words, I know we have to go. Last words is honestly just like Nya did. She was very brave. If you can't talk about your story, please just write it down.
Yeah.
But we would like
Get it
for you
out.
to talk to someone because burying it is not good. And as you see, she's only 23 and look at what she's been through. So can you only imagine with people who are older? So that's what I want to say.
And if you want to come on to Storytime,
Yeah.
Yes, please.
let
come
us
on.
know.
Let us know.
Inbox
Yeah.
us. Let us know. We would
Yeah.
love to have you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for watching.
Yes, definitely like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, and we'll see y'all on the next episode.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Remember to subscribe, like, and share, and follow us on all social media platforms.